Okay, I should start the interview by saying thank you so much for finding the time to sit down and chat with me. I suppose we should start at the very beginning. So, how did your love of theatre begin?
Oh my gosh, what a loaded question, but a good way to start. I think it started in a very similar way for a lot of people. I'm a musical theater girly through and
Yeah.
through. So I did, I want to say age 12 is when I started, like, technically it was choir, but we were singing musical theater
Mm.
things. And from there, I went to auditioning for local school productions. And then that led one thing to another, high school, university, grad school. So it was really from very early, from when I was a kid.
And then, sort of from performing, then, how did you get into the writing sort of things of coming up with your own stories from performing other people's?
Yeah. Well, I think something that comes to mind when you ask that is I want to say I've always thought of myself as a musician first.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Um a musician before I was an actor.
Mm,
And even though I've have such a long experience with acting, I very much consider myself a musician. And the
mm,
way what I'm saying this is why I'm saying this is because I write a lot of music and I've
hmm
always felt comfortable writing music for as long as I can remember, actually.
Oh.
Um, and as I started transitioning into theater, I I don't know, something was just so attractive about getting to imagine what happens in the
Mm.
stage space, I guess.
Yeah, oh, fantastic. And obviously, one of the stories that you've written, you've come up with, is what we're talking about today, is your favorite American woman.
Mhm.
Which is a very funny thing to put at the top of, or I'm chatting to your favorite American woman. But,
Yeah,
but where did that come from, and how did that start?
of course. Yes, it is a very funny title because it's so I love how presumptuous it is. Like, I might not be your favorite. I don't know, who's in your life, but I like to title it that way because it is about, like, broader pop culture and pop culture in media and entertainment and show business and how we just socially present ourselves. And it's all about presentation and performance, which of course fits into, like, the theatrical
Mm,
space where you literally have an audience and you're choosing a self to present to them.
mm,
Um, Another inspiration of the song was, or of this title, was the song "Your Best American Girl" by the artist Mitski. Are you
hmm
familiar?
Not particularly. I do know the name.
Yeah, yeah. Well, she's a pretty big indie musician, and she's of mixed Asian and, or yes, Asian and American heritage.
Hmm
And "Your Best American Girl" is a song all about that. And something about the title really clicked. Like, it's not being the best American for yourself or best American for me. It's the best American for you. It's for
Mm.
someone else. And the idea of your best self being something you put on,
Mm.
for other people. Is that all making
Yeah, so
sense?
kind of the presentation, how you present yourself. You're not saying that you are the best American woman, but you are presenting yourself to be that for the other people, obviously for the show in the room, but in the wider sense, the people you meet, the people you connect with.
Yes, exactly, exactly. No, I'm so glad you're clicking. I feel like it's such a runabout way to talk
Hmm.
about it, but once you get it, I feel like, oh yeah, especially because we are people working in the arts and creatively,
Yeah.
and like I said earlier, the stage and as an actor as well, you're thinking about what you're putting out to other people,
Hmm.
to a detriment, I would say. And a lot of that's just part of how we live our lives. And the character C in the show has also experience as an actor, someone putting themselves out there professionally, but now they're tackling the idea of what the image, what best American they're trying to put out there and who or what
Hmm.
that is.
You're kind of like sort of peeling back the curtain in a sort of way as someone performing as this character who is considering what they present as the perfect American when you are kind of putting those two layers on as a performer yourself.
Yeah, yeah. No, it is funny when you say it. Like, it's sort of that thing when you create something and then you hear someone, like, repeat
Mm.
it back to you. You're like, oh, whoa, what's? I guess that is a lot, but I'm glad you asked about that because it's something that was very intentional for this show.
Mm.
Was taking. Obviously, I'm a Filipino American person now living in the UK, and I have a lot of shared personal experiences with the character in the show and the theming of that.
Mhm.
Um, but that was a choice I really wanted to. distinguish was that the character featured in this version of the show for Camden Fringe is a fictional character
Mm.
and someone who is, although sharing some experiences with myself, the person, the writer, there is a difference there.
Mm.
Um, I thought that was important for me, the performer,
Yeah.
to be able to really get to the meat of the story without having to dig at my own wounds,
Yeah. Totally.
if I'm making sense in that
Hmm.
way.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so there is a distinction
Mm.
between myself and the character.
Oh, fantastic. And obviously,
Yeah.
I read online it is inspired by one of your earlier works,
Mhm.
your Best American Girl.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So how
Sharing the
did that
title
sort
with
of,
the song.
yeah, how did that sort of transition happen? And how, at what point did you go, right, I kind of need a sequel to the
Yeah,
original show?
right, right. It really is when I came to the UK,
Mm.
that's when I really realized I have something that I want to say. What do I want to say? It's a lot of the similar themes and narrative of
Mm.
the previous show. Although it was this tracking back, your best American girl was shown at San Diego Fringe in the
Yeah.
United States. And so that was obviously for people I share a hometown with and people that I share a certain culture with.
Mm.
And since I moved here to the UK, I really wanted to expand on that idea of who I'm presenting to other Americans
Mm.
versus the American I'm presenting to non Americans. Um,
Mm.
so that's the chapter
Yeah.
that this iteration is in.
Oh, fantastic. And obviously you mentioned then obviously you wrote the story and you perform in it. What is it
Mhm.
like writing and performing in your own show? How do you find balancing those two hats of the sort of two sides of theatre in a way?
It's really interesting you put it that way because I think for myself, or at
Mm.
least the way I've done theater in the past, is very much where those two things come hand
Mm.
in hand and where you're sort of always wearing multiple hats in a big ensemble. Um, I suppose that's where I've come from, coming from grad school, where a
Mm.
lot of our focus was devised work and coming up with something new and fresh in the room, and performing what we've come up with. And so I guess it felt
Mm.
natural to me because it's been a muscle that I'd been exercising. Um,
Mm.
yeah, and I think Fringe is the perfect opportunity to
Yeah.
just ride the momentum of an idea.
Mm, totally. And
Yeah.
obviously within the show, as you've sort of hinted at, it does cover ideas of migration and immigration.
Hmm.
So why were those so important to you, and how do you embed them into the story?
Hmm. Migration and immigration have been a part of my life
Mm.
since I was born and since before I was born. I am of Filipino heritage, so both
Mhm.
of my parents moved to the United States from the Philippines. So I'm technically, I believe it's second generation
Mm.
Filipino American. So Filipino by direct descent, but first born on American soil.
Wow.
And I've I had also been flying back and forth from the Philippines to California for as long as I can remember.
Mm.
And so I've always grown up with the idea of having two homes, I guess. Like, we have our home here in San Diego, but we also have the other home in the Philippines where the rest of our family is. And that's always just been a very, I suppose, matter of fact
Yeah.
reality of my life. And it's something I'm always thinking about, especially now that I myself am a migrant from the United States to the UK as a
Mm.
resident.
Yeah, and there's that added layer
Yeah.
as well on top of, like you just said, about uh, being Filipino and then American and now British. I suppose that does,
Hmm.
you talked about those changes in the original show to this one. I suppose that adds
Hmm.
another sort of, don't say layer, but kind of perspective to the show.
Exactly. Yes. And that's what's so exciting about getting to share this story, or at least this source material of stories
Mm.
that I have with audiences very different geographically and
Mm.
culturally from the audiences that I've shown a previous version of this to. Um, I think it's so it just helps to make the story more well-rounded, I
Mhm.
think, and relatable, and just that much more resonant, getting to show it two different people from different walks of life and finding what those common threads are
Mm.
um, between them as
Yeah,
well.
totally. But it's not just the writing and performing that you've decided to put into the show. So, you clearly are a glutton for punishment because you've also added PowerPoints into the show as well, these
Yes,
sort of technical theatrics. So, do
yes.
those sort of things add pressure to you as a performer, remembering all the other little aspects that have got to work together?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. It does add pressure. But honestly, I wouldn't have gone into theater if I didn't think I did well under
Mm.
pressure, you
Yeah.
know? Especially coming from the musical theater world, where if something has to happen now, that
Yeah.
means now, now, on this beat of this song, of this
Yeah.
scene, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and I think something about the way my brain functions is just so attuned to that specific kind of urgency.
Mhm.
Because the way so much theater works, and especially the way the team and I are doing it now, production wise, is getting all of our ducks in a row beforehand, preparing beforehand, all up until the big moment where everything is so organized and placed that there's room for it to exist or go
Yeah.
wrong or go right. Or, it's just there's something, I don't know, I guess it's the drama of the process
Mm.
of it. It's so much lead up and build up to very specific moments.
Mm. It's the
And I
magic
guess
of
I'm
theatre.
attracted to that. Yes,
Yes.
exactly, exactly.
It's what everyone does is you can rehearse, you can prepare. On the
Mhm.
night, X might happen. There's, that's the exciting thing of like, right, it could go perfectly well, fantastic. But also
Mhm.
things could change. There could be something you've got to quickly adapt to. And so I suppose that's really important, especially for taking it to such a big festival where there are hundreds of shows happening constantly. Making sure you're prepared for 101 potential things happening is obviously really important.
Yes, yes. And I love the way you said glutton for punishment because I think that does describe there is at least a little bit of sadism for why anyone would be convinced
Yeah.
to put on your own show at the Fringe. But I think that's what's exciting about it. And I think that's what's so exciting about this specific way of theater making is
Hmm.
you have the high, the ride, you ride the high of an idea and then you scramble to really put it together with all you've got. And it's just a massive, chaotic, artistic summer. And
Hmm.
then the autumn is when you get to sort of crash and settle back into day jobs and
But
all
with
of that.
lots of sort of musical theatre performers, they have a massive team and there's hundreds of people helping organise the show. You are the only
Ah,
performer on the stage. So
yep.
was that always the plan? Were you always writing this as a one-person production?
I was,
Hmm.
yes. Um, I mentioned that this take has a more fictionalized version of the protagonist to tell the
Hmm.
story, but beforehand, it was a lot closer to my real self because a lot of the things that I'm writing about do come from a very personal
Hmm.
place. And it's always been very direct to how I, as an artist, an individual, and as this person and this body, interacts with this world. Um, because I think it is a quite distinct point of view, or at least a point of view that's not typically
Hmm.
examined, at least in this way. And yeah, sorry, I trailed off there, but
No, I totally get what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah,
But
yeah,
obviously, you had the idea, right? It's going to be a one-person production. I'm going to share these
yes.
inspired stories. Does that change then the writing process and your performing process, knowing that it's a one-person show? Does that change how you approach the project?
Mhm. I think it really does.
Mm.
Yes, I think I use the word personal a lot. I really do think it feels like I'm putting so many different facets of myself into this project because, like
Hmm.
you mentioned earlier, I'm wearing different hats. I'm writing it and producing it, and I'm also performing in it. And I'm also still collaborating with other real people as
Yeah.
well, and having to balance that and know which hat to be wearing. Uh, it is chaotic. I really see that, but it's something I think I've learned to do. Um, Having done a few fringe festivals before and doing a lot of self-produced theater, I
Mm.
think, where that's often just the sort of process because that process is like fueled
Mm.
by the passion for the work itself.
So obviously you mentioned that your show has been sort of seen around by lots of different people, but you obviously had the announcement recently that you are heading to the Camden Fringe Festival. So what is
Mhm.
it like bringing a show that is so about American to a British audience? So how have you found that sort of balance?
Yeah, I think, well, a lot of the word that comes to mind is humor.
Hmm.
I think I tackle a lot of the little cultural bits with humor because I think that's how I've tackled just being
Mm.
an American person that has chosen to reside here in the UK
Hmm.
and learning to live my everyday life with those little cultural rubs that happen, or just the little quirks of, living in a completely new
Mm.
country from where you grew up. And I find myself so curious about these little things culturally. I think because I grew up also in a multicultural
Mm.
household, sort of balancing being an American in the United States and where my family came from. Um, so I've always found myself, I guess, hyper aware
Mm.
of little cultural differences and social differences, none malicious or aggressive in any way, but just the very
Mm.
benign, everyday little things that happen. Like, for example, how to spell favorite and learning to put the U in versus not putting a U in like I would initially do. It's those little things that I find curious, and I think that I find humor and joy
Mm.
in. And that's very much the language that I adopt, is finding the levity and the humor in these little bits that, again, not in a malicious or
Yeah.
aggressive way or anything like that, or God forbid, xenophobic, anything like that,
Yeah.
but just really like what happens when cultures meet and what happens at those little bubbles.
Mm. And I think even within cultures, you have differences, don't you, as well? Like, I've got people who
Yes.
swear by spelling favorite without the U, even though they're British born and bred. That's just what they
Okay.
believe. Or color, they're adamant we're spelling it wrong, they're spelling. And I suppose you've got that being from the Philippines and then American and then British. You've got all
Hmm.
those different sort of cultural, as you said, the cultural differences, but even then
Hmm.
bringing it to an audience who themselves will have differences between the person next to them or different traditions and things that they do. It's kind of like above culture in a certain sort of way of you going, right, this is what I've spotted and this is different for me. And then people will go, well, that's different for me as well. And so there's a real like relatability and connectivity within the message of the show.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I'm so glad you're saying that. And I'm really happy that that's essential. Like, I want the show to be welcoming and I
Mm.
want it to spring curiosity of what do you mean favorite American? What does a favorite American look like? And I'm like, I've been an actor for a long time. I've worked here, I've worked in California. I can tell you, like what audiences prefer, or like,
Mm.
like classic movies and musicals have like shown. Um, yeah, it's just I want to bring the fun to it. Like there
Mm.
are some serious conversations that we have, but I know no one wants doom and gloom before a serious conversation. If you
Mm.
want to reach like eye to eye to someone, and I want to see
Yeah.
like show people eye to eye what I experience, this felt like the right way to do
Mm.
it.
Totally. So we are coming to the end of my questions, but I do have a couple
Mhm.
more. I know we've obviously spent the whole interview talking about your latest show, but how would you describe it to someone who's never seen it before?
Yes. So I've been saying in a sort of tag, it's what happens when an Asian American showgirl reads Edward Said or learns about Orientalism.
Mm.
Um, so yes, it's someone that is so focused on who they're presenting and who they need to be in the
Mm.
world that they reside in versus who they are outside of their control and where they
Mm.
come from. And the stickiness that comes from having to negotiate that in everyday ways,
Mm.
from going to auditions and seeing all of the other like Asian people but not exactly the same Asian kind of people, and like
Yeah.
not knowing what to tick on Spotlight, to um just wondering if you'll seriously get cast in things or will.
That
I
sort of
get
tick box
overlooked
thing
by
is
someone
something that
else.
I go
Yeah.
through as well. Being Welsh,
Yeah.
some forms have Welsh, some have British, some it, British English, and you got to go right. Which one am I ticking? And by ticking, which
Yes.
one am I agreeing with? Which one am I presenting myself as?
Exactly. It I feel like it's something that's so I feel like it's something that can be so understood here in the
Hmm.
UK and particularly here in London as just a large metropolitan city. There's everyone from everywhere.
Yeah.
And I just want to show my little facet of
Mm.
my everywhere, what I'm bringing to London,
Oh,
you know?
fantastic. Yeah, totally. So if people do
Yeah.
like the sound of it and want to see tickets, where can they stay up to date with you and where can they get tickets for the show?
Yes. So your favorite American woman is playing at the Canal Cafe Theater. Tickets are
Hmm.
available on their website. We're playing the 11th, 12th, and 13th through 16th of August at 7:30 p.m.
Fabulous. And there's a website where they can buy tickets for the festival?
Yes, at canalcafetheater.com. You should be able to
Fantastic.
find us there.
And do you have a personal page or a show page you'd like to promote as well for people to stay up to
Uh,
date with the show?
yes, you can find us also, Your Favorite American Woman, favorite with a U, of course, on Instagram.
Fantastic. I will put all the links in the comments below so people can scroll down and click away. But my final question is, what advice do you have for young performers, young creatives looking to do what you do?
Love this question. My day job is I teach like drama and music with kids as well, so I think about this a lot.
Yes.
Um, it sounds like the corniest thing, but really have fun with it.
Hmm.
Remember that this is fun. Like, don't overwork yourself. It's easy to get overwhelmed, but getting to be creative and to make art is such a blessing. So
Hmm.
remember, remember to have fun.
Oh, fantastic. So, as I said at the
Yeah.
beginning, but I'll end the same way, thank you so much for finding the time to sit down and chat with me. I obviously wish you the best of luck at the festival, and I shall speak to you soon.